I'll start with this. The Mass didn't just come out of nowhere. When Jesus took bread, gave thanks, and said, take this, all of you, and eat of it, for this is my body, which will be given up for you. Those words, those gestures, those actions didn't just randomly, he didn't just randomly decide to do that. It's rooted in thousands of years of salvation history. Okay. So, which is why in the fall, I'm about halfway through this. I'm going to do another, I don't know what you would call it, study series, whatever, on in conjunction with the Year of the Real Presence, on the Jewish roots, okay, of the Eucharist and of the Mass. Okay. The purpose is to get a deeper appreciation of what it is, and most importantly, why we do the things we do in the Mass. Okay. Most of us, okay, Catholics, probably just looking at the ages here, maybe 20 years or something. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, what I mean? Some of you have a lot of experience of the Mass. Maybe some of you even went when the Mass was the, the older form of the Mass, in Latin with the priest facing east, okay, not having his back to you, okay, facing east. But again, the important is, why do we do the things we do? Okay, so I bring that up, and it's something to look forward to in the fall. And as I promise, I will do it down here as well, because we had such a nice attendance when we did the Lenten series. Where was I going with that? This passage today, okay, is one of the main focal points. Okay, there's a lot to be said, okay, in this series. And so I'm not going to go over every single little detail. It will take a good half hour to do. Remember in the story quickly that Moses just encountered God in the burning bush. The relationship, the intimacy between God, Moses, and the people has deepened. And how? Because God has revealed his name. Okay? So the relationship grows. It's deepening. Okay? God has now revealed his name to Moses, which was yesterday's first reading, a very important first reading. We missed in our cycle the 10 plagues. Okay? Just a note on that, each of those 10 plagues represents God's dominion and power over an Egyptian god. Okay, so for the first one, for example, the water being changed into blood in the Nile River. Well, like I said a couple days ago, the Egyptians saw the Nile River as a god. Well, that's God's dominion. God has defeated, so to speak, the god of the Nile River when that water changes into blood. Okay, and then the others also fall into place. All this is to manifest God's power. Remember, one of the promises to Abraham was what? The worldwide blessing. Here's an opportunity for the conversion of Pharaoh. And it didn't happen, okay, unfortunately for him. And so now we get to the 10th plague, the famous, the angel of death, so to speak, okay. Remember how the story begins. The story begins with Pharaoh killing all the young Hebrew children, the Hebrew males, okay. Well, now here's God's action in this. And so within this, the way that Israel is saved is through a sacrifice, a ritual, and a meal. Sacrifice, meal. Where else do we do that? All right. I don't know. I can't think of it. All right. I can't think of it. All right. So they take the lamb. They sacrifice the lamb. This lamb is a male, firstborn male, without blemish. Very important. If you're a shepherd, you know that the firstborn male, usually one of the most important members of the flock. Why? Because it's the reproducer. Okay? It's how the flock continues. Okay? That male will impregnate other female sheep, and the flock grows. but God's asking for that dependence to place it on him. Again, as a firstborn male, I can tell you, yeah, we are the most important people of the family, okay? All right? So yes. Take the best that you have and the thing that you depend most on, very important spiritual lesson here, and hand it over to God. Because the firstborn sheep in itself, the lamb, it's not going to save you. Okay, but the power of God will. And so as the relationship grows deepened with God revealing his name, so too now it even grows even more, because they're not supposed to do this once. This is going to be an annual celebration. Give the best that you have, hand it over to God in a sacrifice, and then consume it. Sharing a meal. Another way that relationships grow. How do they grow? You share a meal with that person. You know, the most greatest events in our lives often happen around a meal. And so too with our worship and with the worship of the Israelites. And they're supposed to do this every year, where they are reminded that it's God who saves, and that it's God who, enters a covenant with us. And again, I'll explain more of this down the road, how the Mass, again, just didn't appear out of nowhere. The roots, the beginnings of it, begins right here with the institution of the Passover celebration. One last thing on this, and then I'll conclude here. They're to spread the blood on the doorpost. The post would have been made of some type of wood. And what would blood would have done to the wood? It would have stained it. It's a permanent sign. The blood of the Lamb is something that is permanent, that God's protection and God's salvation, starting with the Passover and continuing with the Mass, the promises of God of salvation and of the covenant remain, and they stick with us for always. Through our baptism, through the sacraments, and through the spirits, it remains with us as a reminder of the care and the providence and the salvation of God in our lives. May God bless you.